Welcome back to another deep dive.
Yeah.
Today, we're going to tackle a subject that, quite frankly, usually comes wrapped in a lot of cultural baggage. We're talking about meditation.
Right.
But before you picture incense, uncomfortable cushions, or someone telling you to align your chakras, I want to pose a question.
Okay.
And it might sound a little bit controversial, maybe even heretical, to some of the purists out there.
I love a bit of heresy on a Tuesday. Let's hear it.
What if meditation isn't actually a spiritual practice at all? What if everything we associate with enlightenment or Zen is actually just a biological trick?
A trick.
A specific, hackable mechanism in the human nervous system that has nothing to do with religion and everything to do with how your neurons fire.
It is a provocative opening, isn't it? But, when you look at the stack of research we have on the table today, it's a question we absolutely have to ask.
We're digging into a fascinating book today. It's titled The Science of Meditation by Weishan Xie. And let me tell you, this is not your typical find your bliss kind of guide.
No, not at all.
The author takes a sledgehammer to the mysticism surrounding meditation. He is looking at this strictly through the lens of biology, evolution, and neuroscience.
He really does strip it down to the studs. I mean, Shia isn't interested in the philosophy or the dogma. He wants to know what is physically happening to the meat and electricity of the human body when we meditate.
Right.
And his core thesis is something that, honestly, I hadn't really considered in this specific way before.
It completely blew my mind. He argues that meditation is biologically identical to sleep.
Identical.
With one massive catch, you stay awake.
Exactly. He coins the term awake sleep. And our mission for this deep dive is to unpack exactly what that means. Because if he's right, it changes everything about how we view rest, happiness,
Everything.
and even how we view aging. We're going to look at brain scans. We're going to look at the evolutionary history of fish.
Yes, we are going to talk about fish today.
We are. And we're going to figure out how this biological state unlocks what the author calls unconditional happiness.
I just love this idea of demystifying something that usually feels so abstract. It makes it feel reachable. Like, I don't need to go live in a cave for 30 years. I just need to understand the operating system of my own brain.
That's the beauty of it. It turns it into an engineering problem rather than a moral or spiritual one. And what's helpful here is that the author grounds this excitement in some very specific neurological studies. He actually corresponds with researchers to back this up.
Which is so important.
It is. So let's dive into this concept of awake sleep.
Okay, let's unpack this. Awake sleep. It sounds like a total oxymoron. How does the author actually define this state?
Well, Shia starts by defining the mechanism. He argues that meditation is essentially a way of tricking the unconscious brain.
Tricking it how?
The brain is constantly scanning for cues to tell it what state it should be in. By maintaining absolute stillness, or conversely, a constant rhythmic motion, which we'll get to later, you are signaling to the deep parts of your brain that you are asleep.
So I'm sitting there, I'm not moving a muscle, and my brainstem goes, oh, well, the body isn't doing anything. We must be napping.
Precisely. It's a transition of power. Think about your normal waking state. Your conscious brain, the cerebral cortex, the neocortex, the CEO of your head.
The boss.
The boss is driving the car. It's making decisions. It's moving muscles. It's checking emails. It's worrying about dinner.
Right, all the chatter.
But in this state, because of that stillness, the CEO steps away from the desk. The conscious brain hands the keys over to the non-conscious brain, the brainstem and the cerebellum.
So the body falls asleep, effectively.
But the mind, the you, stays watching.
That is such a cool distinction. It's not checking out. It's letting the autopilot take over the hardware while you watch the scenery.
That's a great way to put it.
Is there proof? I mean, saying it is sleep is a huge claim. People say meditation is relaxing, sure, but sleep is this very specific physiological state.
It is. And this is where it gets really interesting for the data nerds among us. The author cites correspondence with Dr. Heather Reed from the University of Connecticut, who summarizes some key research on the connection between sleep and meditation.
Okay.
We have to look at the EEGs, the brain waves.
Okay, quick refresher for everyone. If our brain is a radio, what are the stations we're tuning into? We're talking delta, theta, alpha, beta, right?
Right. So at the top of the dial, you have beta waves. That's about 12 to 30 hertz. That's what you and I are doing right now. Alert, active, analyzing, talking.
It's the get stuff done frequency.
It is. That's where we spend our whole day, most of us.
Unfortunately, yes.
Exactly. Then, if you close your eyes and just relax, take a few deep breaths, you drop into alpha. That's 8 to 12 hertz. It's that bridge between the conscious and subconscious.
Okay, still with you.
Then you start drifting off. You enter theta, which is 4 to 8 hertz. This is light sleep, dreaming, that groggy, hypnagogic state where you have those weird, half-formed thoughts.
Like when you're just about to fall asleep and you think you're falling.
That's the one. And finally, you get to the basement.
The basement.
Delta waves. Below 4 hertz. This is deep, slow wave sleep, N3 sleep. This is where the body repairs tissues, releases growth hormones, and, crucially, scrubs the brain of toxins.
This is the good stuff, the real restorative slate.
It's the stuff we're all missing. So usually you cycle through these at night, you go down into the deep delta sleep, then come back up to REM, and you repeat that cycle.
Right.
Correct. Now, here's the aha moment. The author cites a study by Denico and colleagues. They looked at long-term meditators, but they didn't just measure them while they were meditating.
What do they do?
They measured what happened when these people went to sleep at night after a day of intense practice.
And what did the scans show?
They found that these meditators showed a significant reduction in delta waves during their first sleep cycle at night.
Wait, hold on. Let me make sure I get this. They had less deep sleep at night.
Yes.
It sounds like a bad thing. We're always told we need more deep sleep.
It does sound bad, doesn't it? But context is key here. It's what he calls the homeostasis argument.
Okay.
Think of it like eating. If you snack all day, or if you eat a massive nutrient-dense lunch, you simply aren't hungry for a big dinner. Your body has met its quota.
Oh, I see. So the argument is that they didn't need the deep sleep at night.
Exactly.
Because they had already consumed it during the day while they were meditating.
Exactly. It's a substitution. The author compares this to research by the sleep scientist Dirk Jan Dijk on napping.
Okay.
We know that if you take a long, deep nap during the day, you generate delta waves. Consequently, your sleep pressure, your need for slow wave sleep at night, it drops.
Right. Makes sense.
Since meditation causes the exact same drop in nighttime delta needs, the author argues that meditation is a form of sleep, or napping, that satisfies the body's homeostatic need for rest.
So meditation is effectively a super nap.
In terms of brainwaves, yes, but without the grogginess. There's another study mentioned by Call and his team which showed that meditation acutely improves psychomotor vigilance.
Which is what exactly?
Basically, your reaction times and alertness, so it makes you sharper while decreasing the overall need for sleep duration.
That explains why you hear these stories about high-level monks or, super meditators who say they only need 4 hours of sleep a night. I always assumed they were just torturing themselves or running on pure willpower, but you're saying they're actually getting the rest while they're awake.
That's the theory. They are double dipping. They get rest at night and they get rest on the cushion. Wow. And to really drive this home, the author draws a fascinating comparison to lucid dreaming. He calls it the mirror image of meditation.
Oh, I love this part. Because I've tried lucid dreaming, mostly unsuccessfully, I should add. And it's such a trippy concept.
It is. But think about the mechanics. In lucid dreaming, your body is fully asleep. You are in REM sleep. Your muscles are paralyzed. That's called REM atonia.
Right, so you don't act out your dreams and punch your partner.
Exactly.
Huh.
But your mind wakes up inside the dream.
Right, I'm asleep, but I know I'm asleep. The software is online, but the hardware is offline.
In meditation, it's the exact opposite approach. Your mind is awake outside the dream, in the real world, but your body falls asleep.
That's a brilliant way to visualize it.
They're almost identical states, just approached from opposite directions.
In one, the mind wakes up in a sleeping body. In the other, the body sleeps under a waking mind. But this leads to a very practical question, one that the author actually addresses. And honestly, it's the first thing I thought of when I read Awake Sleep.
I think I know where you're going with this.
If my body's asleep, why don't I fall over?
It's the classic listener question, right? If you fall asleep on a train or a plane, what happens? You slump, your head nods forward, you might drool a little on your neighbor.
Exactly. We lose muscle tone. So if meditation is awake sleep, why are these Zen masters sitting perfectly upright like statues for hours? Is it just willpower?
No, it's not willpower. And this is where we have to look at evolution. The author takes us way, way back. We have to look at the spectrum of consciousness in the animal kingdom.
We're going back to the fish, aren't we?
We are going back to the fish. See, humans and primates have a very specific type of deep sleep where we lose near total muscle tone. We go limp.
Right.
But that is actually rare in nature. Think about a fish. A fish never fully relaxes in the way we do. If a fish went totally limp in a river, what would happen?
You would get swept away by the current.
Oh.
Or it would just, turn upside down and float away.
Exactly. So fish enter a low metabolic state, a type of rest, but their non-conscious brain, the primitive parts, keeps the fins moving just enough to maintain balance and stay upright.
So they're sensitive to the current even while resting.
Yes, exactly. They're sleep swimming, in a way.
Okay, sleep swimming. I like that.
And it's not just fish. Whales and dolphins have unihemispheric sleep, where one half of the brain sleeps while the other stays awake to surface for air. But the fish connection is vital because we share an evolutionary history with them.
We have a fish brain buried inside us.
We do. It's about brain structure. Think
Right.
of the brain like an onion. On the outside, we have the conscious brain, the cerebral cortex, the neocortex. That's the new fancy human stuff.
The CEO.
The CEO, right. But underneath, deep in the center, we have the brainstem, the spinal cord, the cerebellum. Animals without a cortex like fish or insects still move. They still balance. They function entirely on that non-conscious system.
So the theory here is that when you meditate, you aren't just letting go into a void. You're handing the steering wheel from the cortex, the human part, the brainstem, the fish part.
Wow.
Precisely. You are shutting down the noisy CEO upstairs and letting the ancient, reliable night watchman take over. The non-conscious brain retains that primitive awareness and motor regulation. It keeps the spine upright. It keeps the body balanced, much like a resting fish holding its position in a stream.
That's the idea.
That explains so much. It's not that you are rigid. It's that a different, older system is holding you up.
And this actually bridges perfectly into the next section of the book, because this different system doesn't just hold you still, it can also move you.
This is where we get into the broader definition of meditation. Up until now, we've been talking about sitting still, but the author argues that's too narrow, right?
Right. He distinguishes between narrow meditation, which is the stillness we just discussed, and broad meditation, which includes movement. Things like walking, running, and specifically Tai Chi.
Tai Chi is often called moving meditation, but I never really understood the biological link until reading this. I just thought it was, slow exercise for old people in the park.
A lot of people do. But it comes back to that trick we mentioned in the beginning. You can trick the brain into sleep by absolute stillness, or by slow, continuous, rhythmic movement.
So the repetition bores the conscious mind to sleep.
In a way, it allows the conscious mind to disengage. The author breaks down the stages of Tai Chi in a really interesting way. When you're a beginner, you are using your conscious brain.
Right.
You're thinking, okay, left foot here, right hand there, shift weight. It's clunky.
It's like learning to drive a manual car. You're hyper aware of everything. Am I pressing the clutch enough? Where is the gear stick?
Perfect analogy. But the intermediate stage is where the flow starts. And the advanced stage, what the Taoists call Wu Wei, or effortless action, is when the non-conscious brain takes over completely. The body moves on its own.
And this isn't mystical.
Not in this view. It's biological. It's muscle memory and the cerebellum running the program without the cortex interfering. The CEO is on a coffee break, and the factory floor is running itself perfectly.
This connects to something really wild. The author describes spontaneous gong, or Zifa gong.
Ah, yes.
This is where a meditator sitting still suddenly starts moving or swaying or even crying without trying to.
This freaks people out. They think, am I possessed? Is this a spirit?
I would definitely freak out if I started swaying uncontrollably in a quiet room. I'd think something was seriously wrong.
Of course. But the scientific explanation is fascinating. It's somatic release. Once you turn off the conscious override, the part of you that says, sit still, behave, don't cry, the nervous system starts to self-regulate.
It's releasing stored tension.
Exactly. It's the body unwinding itself once the boss has left the room. All that stress you've been holding in your shoulders or your jaw, it finally has a chance to release.
So that crying or shaking is just the nervous system cleaning house.
That's the theory. It connects to the flow state we hear about in sports or music. When a great athlete does something incredible, they often say, I didn't think, I just did it.
Yeah.
That is the non-conscious brain acting faster and more efficiently than the conscious mind ever could.
I want to shift gears a little here. We've talked about the biology of the brain and the body, the nuts and bolts. But the book takes a turn into the world of art and philosophy. And honestly, this was where it got really beautiful for me.
It is a beautiful pivot, isn't it? The author connects this biological state to the creation of art.
He references the philosopher R.G. Collingwood, who defined art as the expression of human emotion. But the author says meditation creates new emotions. What does he mean by that?
Well, think about your daily emotions. Stress, excitement, annoyance, hunger. They are reactive. They are tied to survival, to external events.
Right. My boss yelled at me, so I feel angry.
Exactly. The author argues that when you enter this awake sleep state, you experience emotions that ordinary life simply doesn't trigger. Serenity, emptiness, but in a good way, a peaceful way, universal compassion.
So because these are new, rare emotions, we need new forms of art to express them.
That's his theory on Eastern arts, like the Japanese tea ceremony or Zen gardens. These aren't just decorations or rituals, they are attempts to capture and express these specific meditative emotions.
Let's talk about the tea ceremony, or sado. I've always thought of it as it's a very fancy, very slow way to drink tea.
And on the surface it is, but the author describes the tea master as performance art.
What does that mean?
It goes deeper than that. He quotes Okakura Kakuzo, who said, "The tea master strives to be art itself." Because the art isn't the pea. It isn't the beautiful, expensive cup. It's the movement, the presence, the state of mind of the master.
So the art is the process.
The art is the person in that state. When the master dies, the art vanishes. You can have the same room, the same tools, but the art is gone.
That is profound and kind of tragic, actually.
It is, and the author, referencing Soetsu Yanagi, actually critiques modern tea ceremonies. He says many have lost that Zen essence. They've become about rigid etiquette or showing off expensive teaware.
It's become about the form, not the feeling.
Exactly. True mastery requires that meditative state, that awake sleep, not just memorizing the steps. It's the difference between dancing the steps and feeling the dance.
I like that. And this discussion of art leads him to the philosopher Schopenhauer.
Oh, Schopenhauer, the party animal of philosophy.
The ultimate optimist, yes.
He had a pretty grim view of things. He said life swings like a pendulum between pain and boredom.
Which, to be fair, feels accurate on some Mondays.
Right. We have what he called the will to live, which is basically desire. We want something, which is a state of pain or lack. We get it, we're briefly satisfied, and then we're bored. So we want something else.
And the cycle repeats. Suffering is built into the system.
It is. So how does meditation fix Schopenhauer's pendulum?
I'm curious.
Schopenhauer suggested art or asceticism denying desire as an escape.
Yeah.
But that's a battle. You are fighting your will constantly. The author suggests meditation is a hack.
A biological hack.
Exactly. Think about biology again. Where does desire come from? It comes from the senses. Seeing, tasting, touching, hearing.
Okay.
Meditation biologically shuts down the sensory nerves one by one as you enter that deep sleep state.
So you don't have to fight the desire for the thing you see.
No, because you're not seeing it anymore, not in the same way. You just turn off the input. If the senses are asleep, the desire dissolves naturally. You step off the pendulum without a fight.
You sidestep the suffering. The greatest victory is that which requires no battle.
Sun Tzu. Exactly. It's an elegant, efficient solution.
This brings us to the ultimate goal, really. Why do any of this? The book calls it unconditional happiness.
And this is a distinction we really need to make. We usually chase conditional happiness.
I'll be happy when I get that promotion. I'll be happy when I buy that car. I'll be happy when Friday gets here.
Right. And it's fleeting. You get the car, you're happy for a week, and then it's just a car. You're back on the pendulum. Unconditional happiness is that innate, causeless joy.
The author compares it to waking up as a child, just excited to be alive for no particular reason.
Exactly. That feeling.
I miss that feeling. Why do we lose it?
Yeah.
The author seems to think it's not just life getting hard, it's chemical.
It's biochemical. We're talking serotonin, dopamine, endorphins. These are the happiness chemicals. And here's the critical link. Their production and regulation are heavily tied to deep sleep.
N3 sleep, the basement.
The basement. Deep sleep regulates happiness. And here is the scary statistic from the book. At age 20, about 20% of your sleep is that restorative deep sleep. That's roughly 96 minutes a night.
Which already doesn't sound like much.
It doesn't. But by age 65, it drops to about 30 minutes.
Wow. That is a massive drop-off, from over an hour and a half to half an hour.
It is. We literally lose the physiological capacity to manufacture happiness because we lose the ability to sleep deeply. The author argues that the grumpy old man stereotype isn't about attitude, it's about chronic age-related sleep deprivation.
So if meditation is awake sleep,
It's the supplement, that's the argument. Since meditation is deep sleep biologically, it acts as a top-up for that shrinking supply of natural sleep.
you're refilling the tank during the day.
You're restoring the neurochemical balance, you're bringing back that childlike, unconditional joy.
That is incredibly empowering. It means we aren't just victims of aging. We can manually top up the tank.
As the philosopher Wang Yang said, everything you need is already within you. It's not just poetic, it's biological. You have the factory, you just need to turn it on.
We have to talk about the final transition, The book goes to the absolute limit of human experience. It goes to death.
Chapter 16, The Ultimate Transition. It's a heavy chapter.
He brings up Socrates.
Right. Socrates famously said that a true philosopher practices dying. And he accepted his own death so calmly. Why? Because he believed the body limited the soul.
But the author, being a biologist, has a different, more mechanical take on this, practicing dying.
He does. He talks about the phenomenon of Zhuhua-sitting transformation. It's the documented phenomenon of high-level meditators passing away while meditating.
This sounds incredibly intense, but the mechanism he describes actually sounds, well, incredibly peaceful.
It goes back to the nervous system. We have the sympathetic nervous system, that's fight or flight, fear, pain, adrenaline.
And the parasympathetic rest and digest.
And meditation activates the rest and digest system.
To an extreme degree.
To the absolute maximum degree. In deep meditation, you are suppressing the sympathetic system. You are shutting down sensory input. Pain signals, they're turned off. Fear signals, turned off.
So if you die in that state,
You are passing away in a state of extreme safety, warmth, and euphoria. The author calls it a natural euthanasia. The body shuts down without the panic or pain that usually accompanies death.
it changes the whole view of death from something terrifying to just a final transition, a final deep sleep.
It connects to Heidegger's being towards death. By facing it, by practicing this state of deep withdrawal, you lose the fear of it. And when you lose the fear of death, you can live more fully.
Okay, we have covered a huge amount of ground here. I mean, from brainwaves and fish brains.
All the way to tea ceremonies and the biochemistry of joy.
It's been quite a journey.
It really has.
If you had to summarize the key takeaway here, what is the one thing you want our listeners to walk away with?
For me, it's the shift in agency. We so often feel like our mental state is something that happens to us. We're stressed, we're unhappy, we're tired.
Right. It feels external.
This research suggests that we have a built-in refresh button. It's not magic. It's not religion. It's a biological mechanism that evolution gave us, connecting us to everything from fish to our own ancestors.
And modern life suppresses it.
It does. Meditation just turns it back on.
It's not about becoming a monk. It's about reclaiming your own biology.
Exactly.
So I want to leave everyone with a thought to mull over today. We talked about unconditional happiness. If this author is right, and happiness is just a biological state dependent on your sleep ability, and meditation is a hack for that sleep, does that mean we have full control over our own happiness, regardless of what is happening in our external lives?
That is the ultimate question, isn't it? Can you be happy even if the world is falling apart around you? The science suggests
Yeah.
maybe you can.
Something to think about. Thanks for diving deep with us today.
Always a pleasure.
See you next time.